I have some that are even the size of my toenail. All the way up to this.
I'm pretty fucking stoked about this.
But I know he's here, but I still wish he was
I'm from Mountain View, California. That's where Google now is. So Silicon Valley. But it wasn't like that growing up. I lived next to there was a farm, pumpkin patch we called it. Homes now. So yeah, I mean, if you read like Jack Kerouac, he writes about coming down from San Francisco to the South Bay, and even there's one book, I can't remember which one. It might be Desolation Angels. He's like, even in the 1950s, he was like, this is such beautiful farmland, and there's all these houses being built up. That's kind of the story of a lot of places, right? So there's not.
Them getting gentrified.
Santa Clara Valley has some of the richest soil, and it's all concrete. So
it's went from pumpkin patches to a concrete jungle.
Into nice houses. They're great houses, multi-million dollars. I mean that's where I'm from. So I moved to. First, I moved out to Nashville, Tennessee. I finally got out of the Bay Area bubble. So moved out there in November of 2019, right? And then so 3 months into that, COVID hit when I was out in Nashville, and that really changed things. So I spent like a year, more like, I don't know, 9 months or so, just really in isolation out in Nashville, because I knew some people. I had like an uncle out there, but he was really old, so I couldn't really hang out with him during COVID, right? So that was like my one solid connection there. So I just used that as an opportunity to be alone, and I always wanted to like have that
moment of isolation
to dig into.
So how do you even find yourself going to Nashville from the Bay Area? Like, what brought you out there? Like
songwriting, for sure. That was always been what I'm most passionate about. I think I got into writing by like, kind of like, okay, I love making music, I'm good at it. I think I have this like, you listen to music and you're like unsatisfied with the stuff out there, and you're like, well, I
wish they did this, or I wish they did the chord like this, or
all this stuff. Yeah. And just kind of being like, I have something to offer. I know I have something to offer, and like always just being a good guitarist. Like I took to it really quick, and like just blowing minds. Shit, just playing rad ass guitar solo, people digging it, and putting on good shows. I guess I started writing more and more as life became harder and harder, and
you remember the first song you wrote?
Yeah, it was a song called Southern Comfort.
Southern Comfort.
I was in college, junior year. I was in a relationship for 3 years. Up until then, we broke up when her brother committed suicide. She was at NYU studying theater, and I was back in California at Santa Clara University. So we were doing long distance for 2 years. And her brother died, and then at the same day that he died, I had another friend that I grew up with commit suicide too on the same day. So, that totally changed my life, changed my path completely. And junior year was, I don't want to say it was difficult, but, as much as it was like, it's heart-opening, let's say. Spiritually awakening, questions, all that stuff, and this, losing my partner of 3 years, so a lot of necessity to soul search, right? So that's when, I got to writing. I would I was a classical guitarist kind of guy. I was studying a lot of classical guitar. And then every time I'd go to practice, I'd practice like 2 hours every day guitar, you know, and I'd go and try to practice, but I'd just go to writing, right? And I'd just go to write. And so the Southern Comfort song was pretty dark about, like, you know, wanting to get drunk and black out kind of thing to deal with your problems. I wasn't much of a blackout kind of drinker, so I was like kind of using that as a metaphor. But nevertheless, it definitely highlighted a feeling of wanting to give up, right? And that's definitely a theme that I found like suicide, right, is probably a theme closest to my heart just based on the circumstances of having two friends die at the same day, right? It's just...
Have you ever thought about that yourself?
Suicide?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. You got to. I mean, you don't have to, but like, yeah, I mean, I think it's natural in a way. Truth is a big journey. They're curious about it. They're asking questions and they're like driven to down that road. Knowing that it's endless and like the journey will never end, and I mean it will, but yeah, you know, as far as like artist suicide stuff, like Jimi Hendrix thinking I have nothing else to offer the world. I think he said that, you know, he made his albums and he was like, I have nothing else to offer, you know, and that's a very like his own matrix going on in his head, right? There's no truth to that whatsoever. I'll just keep creating. So, you know, honestly, I just wanted to, get my shit out there. You know, I had some songs that I really believed in, still believe in, I guess. So I just needed the right team, right group of people to support that. So yeah, going out there was so much about networking and meeting the right musicians. You know, my stuff is not mainstream country, so a little challenging in that. I mean, I'm really thankful for he's my grandfather's cousin, so I just consider him an uncle. But he's like, you know, veteran in the songwriting industry there in Nashville. And you'd say stuff like Bob Regan is his name. You'd say like you can either, you know, go the mainstream route or you're an artist and you create your own niche, right? So it's like you do one or the other. It's not, and you know, you can write for.
You can write for the one
both.
or the other. Yeah,
you write for both. Yeah, but I was kind of like, okay, which crowd? Me and I always kind of know it. It's like I'm trying to create my own niche thing. You know, I can write for both, but we're most. Yeah, and then with COVID coming down, it was like, okay, well, I'm obviously not going to be networking with these successful artists. I'm just going to create my own niche. So I really dove into creating my own sound, creating my own niche, and really happy with that time and my guitar playing that came from that time period. I was struggling with arthritis in my fingers, and that's where the yoga thing comes in too. I was like not sure what the hell was going on, so I was just using that as an opportunity to explore, read books, write. You know, I had this great routine of my own self-study sort of thing and self-progression, and
I was just gonna ask, like, how did that cope? Because you went out there to Tennessee to make, you know, connections and to, you know, link with people.
The opposite.
And COVID, and the opposite happened. So how did that, you know, affect you? Like basically going out on your own, and then, you know, you get hit immediately with that problem.
I was really thankful because, you know, a lot of that pressure to like make connections, find success, and stuff like that was not me. It was driven much more by my family and friends and stuff. So yeah, I was thankful to like have that pressure gone, you know, the pressure to like get success now, you know, and all that stuff. I was like, well, it's not happening right now, so I was glad, yeah. But yeah, it just went on a little bit too long. Yeah, I never got back to what it was, and like my favorite open mic spot would take the COVID protocols pretty seriously, so they never reopened by the time I was there. But they're back now, doing things, and yeah, they're being very safe about it, so it's good for them. there's a really good community, so I hope to get back out there. The networking stuff is one thing, but I think I found though that the community aspect, that's where I really learned community, and the necessity of community in art. So to have that community, and like we were talking about going back to open mics here, that's that next level of like, writing for yourself and then writing for the community too, expanding. So I'm starting to, now that I'm here and I'm comfortable, I'm starting to meet people and knowing that I have a lot to offer, trying to expand that. My father, actually. You don't agree with somebody, or it's just dealing with different people, different types of people really makes you, you ask certain questions, and then that leads you down a path of thinking. And it makes you realize that each person, their truth is the only truth they have, I guess. And everyone has that. So an idea of an absolute truth isn't much of anything. So I guess that's this illusion.
Yeah.
And I think it hit me probably when my parents were divorced when I was like 13. That was a highly emotional event in my life, traumatic. I think that's when I really, that's when I got my guitar when I was 13. My parents were divorced. I got really quiet and fell into music. So I didn't have the words to like communicate this stuff to myself and to other people, but I knew something was going on, and I was different. I was quiet, and I was observing society more so than participating in society, because I had this disillusion, this heartbreak, this traumatic event. So, and I had my music to like be my light through all that darkness kind of thing. I still with my mom for a bit, and then started seeing my dad more. Eventually, like 1 week off, 1 week between each other. So, kind of living out of the suitcase for most of my high school life. There was fights in the house and stuff. Eventually, mom kicked him out. Mom was recovering from knee surgery. She had like 8 knee surgeries. She just was in bad shape, and my dad wasn't helping her out as much as he
could have. Do you have a good relationship with him now?
My mom.
No, more so your dad.
I love the guy, but as much as he loves art and stuff like that, as I've been kind of saying, he wants what's best for me. He does, and like I was saying, how the artistic path is really dangerous, right? Like you gotta, you're going to go down a road that nobody else
is
can
untraveled.
Yeah, untraveled. The German poet Rilke, right? Rilke. He has a poem or letters to a young artist, and the young artist writes to him and asks him something, and he it's like a question of, should I become an artist? Should I go down that path? And he says, you need to ask yourself, does your life depend on this? Does your life depend on making art? Because you have no choice but to die or make art. And you have to ask yourself that question. And if you think you can live and do something else, then you should probably go do that. But if you cannot do anything but create that art or whatever, follow that path, then that's for you. So the stakes are pretty high, as I'm saying, right? Like, this is it. This is my life. My life depends on this. I have no choice. So as a father, he doesn't want me to fail.
Of course.
So, I just know
maybe he necessarily doesn't want you to do arts.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But he does at the same time. I know he does. It gets conflicting. So, I've just learned that boundaries are really important for any relationship at all. As much as you love somebody, as much as I love my mother and my father, boundaries are just very important. So, I I just have learned that I need to have boundaries with him, because as I create, I need to have my own space. Right? I need to be like nothing inhibiting me. I need to express as much as I can. So it's been necessary to set boundaries. That's all. So I took a road trip. And I was like, I was 25, 24. So I drove up California coast, Oregon coast, some of Washington, met some friends in Seattle, and then went out to Montana, Missoula area, down through the Mid-River Valley, and then came back down through Nevada to San Francisco, and that was just awesome. Just boom, just like the nature, the beauty, being alone out there traveling and following my intuition. Like I didn't book any hotels, just camping along the way and just following my intuition. Really, like it was like, shit, man, there's something happening. I'm able to. The mind's able to like process way more than I could consciously think in words, right?
Yeah.
So got back and then I wrote my ass off. I was just so inspired to write. And,
just on everything you've seen throughout your journeys?
My whole life too.
Yeah.
So it was a mix of everything. I was just like hit by something, kind of got into nonstop. I was writing nonstop, just constantly. And, just kept pushing myself. And I was at a point, I had a job lined up to teach guitar. And that was like my dream job. Everything, I had my own studio, everything was set, ready to go. So I knew I had like a month to like be as creative as I possibly can. So I started writing a book about my road trip and about my life and that kind of thing. And that's where tensions with my dad started to kind of increase, because he didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just writing so much. I was living alone at that time. The tension started to increase. He would like call me at like midnight, right, and like kind of like get in my face about stuff, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not. I know what I'm doing. I know this is right, and so that was happening. It was stressful. So I was like, oh, this book needs to be fucking good. This book needs to sell. I need to be famous right now, because I need to get away from. I need to be independent, right?
Yeah.
And my idea, I was 25. I was like, if I get famous, if I get successful, I can be independent. I can pursue my art. I can do what I feel like I need to do, but I need that success because my family's not supporting me.
Was that kind of almost like a way to maybe possibly get those late night phone calls to stop?
Yeah, like all that stuff, just like all that stuff. So I like was going really hard, and I got to a point. Sleep was kind of becoming less and less, and I got to a point where I was just like, I don't know, I crossed the threshold, and I was writing some stuff that I couldn't explain. I was tapping into something I couldn't explain, and I knew it was real. So I went out with my typewriter in the streets of San Francisco and just started writing poems for people. Just like that one day, it was just like my heart was racing, and I was just like, I went to the typewriter and just like without thinking, I just wrote out stuff, and I was just like, whoa, this is beautiful. So really, what I was doing was I was just getting past myself. All that stuff we're talking about, intentions, all the bullshit, all the story, I just got past that. I just got past myself and was writing for something much larger. Getting past my matrix, my reality, to something bigger. I did that one time. Posted photos to like Instagram and like I think probably my Facebook at that time, and then my dad absolutely freaked out at that point. Because I was like, who is this guy?
Who does he think he is?
Right? Who does he think he is? And I was trying too hard. I was trying to solve the world. I was trying to save the world. I was trying to solve my dad's problems, my problems, everyone's problems. I was trying to do all of it. I got some help. Saw a therapist. Was got responsible about it. Day one, like therapy started, like I was going to get my meditation practice going. So I started meditating and I was listening to a tape 2 hours every day, and it got to a point where I had a strong hour every day meditation practice, and I still every day I do an hour of meditation. It gave me my freedom back because I was definitely stuck in my own words too. I was I was past myself, but then there wasn't really a self anymore, right? So I had to ground myself again.
So you had to figure that out.
Yeah, I had to ground myself. So yeah, that meditation practice really grounded me. I'm like that high of getting past myself, and it felt good, right? It felt really good. It was a drug. It was like a drug that you get from not sleeping, right? And you're kind of like in survival mode all the time, and it's like a flight or fight kind of endorphins or whatever. All these endorphins and stuff, chemicals firing off. So it is like a come down, right? You come down, and I was on some medications. Like this sucks. Like I feel like death right now. I feel like I'm dying. Like, it's all going away. I feel awful. So meditation practice was like, when I would meditate, it would feel good. I was getting the chemicals back in a natural way. I was getting it in a way that was sustainable instead of not sleeping, not taking care of myself, not eating well. I was getting those chemicals in a self-sufficient way that I could keep going. So, yeah, I wrote a lot, stopped writing, got scared of writing because I was like, oh shit, this is dangerous. Like, this is what I'm doing. I was scared of it. Like, I decided.
Because where it took you.
Negative, yeah, where it took me to the negative associations with it. So I was gradually getting back into the writing with meditation practice. Nashville gave me an opportunity to explore that again, being in isolation out there. And then, the writing came with that, and then I just got more and more into it. I never thought I'd be a poet. I don't really consider myself a poet in that.
Well, I would consider
similarly
you
to like
creator, really.
I would
consider you a creator.
And then like the poetry market, similar to the songwriting market, it's like a lot of the people aren't into poetry because it's so pretentious.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get into because everyone's trying to like one up each other and like be better
and have that
success.
Poem.
Yeah. So simplicity is really where I was like, okay, like getting past myself, as you're saying. So now I kind of, though, as I've been progressing, there's a little bit of element of like I want to get better, I want to write better stuff, but keeping that simplicity, keeping it accessible to everyone. I try not to use challenging words unless it's just a good word.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get past yourself, if you're gonna channel or whatever, if you're gonna do any of that stuff, you don't have a choice in what you create. Because it's gonna happen organically. So that's always been the point. I really believe in art being organic, being natural, coming from something larger than yourself. That being said, it is going to come from you, so there's kind of this responsibility of an artist to live their life interest. I am kind of like at a point where, I think writing poems for people is going well and everything. I can do that. I can just write something that rhymes quickly, easily. But I want to challenge myself. I want to keep pushing myself because I have to love my own stuff for me to do it. Like, if I'm not passionate about
do it in the first place.
I can't put the passion in it. People don't want a poem, they're not going to like it. But if they come to me and want a poem, they're going to like it as long as I don't stand in the way. And I let that happen.
And it's not your poem.
It's their poem.
Yeah, it's their poem. And that's what I see when you're writing and while I'm reading your poems and reading the poems that you write for people, slips or whatever. It is as if it's a third party writing the poem.
Yeah, cool. I think Bruce Springsteen said something like, an artist has to believe they're the greatest thing in the world and the worst thing in the world at the same time. Yeah. And
seems about right.
Yeah, that totally is it. Because you have to believe in yourself, but then you have to be humble and you have to get out of your own way. So it's that whole balance act there. Yeah, no, you said it pretty well. It's cool to hear. Kind of puts me. It's good to hear that because like sometimes I do get confused.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Like I was saying, it's kind of ironic because it comes at a point where I'm already too far down the path to like need any more confirmation.
Yeah.
But but then you like remember like, oh yeah, take it in. Like
it's just those signs, like
victories.
remembrings, like
little
little
victories here and there, So it's cool. And like everyone likes to talk about themselves. Come on, doing my yoga, poetry, and music. I hope to have them all going full force.
Yeah.
I have noticed that a lot of people love yoga, but not a lot of people have a meditation practice. So if I can figure out how I can be of service there, and that is such a like huge giving back thing that I think will only light fires for my poetry and music. Because if I'm just doing poetry and music, it gets a little like narcissistic. It's a little like, oh shit, I'm just like jerking myself off all the time. I love this. And this is fun. It's just like. So yoga is much more like direct, and for myself too, my own practice. As I was saying, I was getting arthritis in my fingers, so I needed to. My yoga practice was huge for me. Guitarist,
how did that come from? Just playing guitar?
Psoriasis. Yeah, that's genetic. I was getting it in my feet, arthritis in my feet, and I didn't know what it was. When I was still living in San Francisco, and then moved out to Nashville. And then with the pandemic, kind of closing yoga studios, closing workout spaces, I just, just stress probably and all that. It just was getting into my fingers. So that was very, maybe I started writing more then because I had to face the reality of like maybe I won't be able to play guitar my whole life. And like guitar has been my thing. Like if you meet anybody that grew up with me, like I'm the guitarist. That's been my identity always. So it was like very much like okay, like this is real life. I have to work more. It pushes the yoga. It pushes the poetry. I think even if I'm stiff, I'm kind of stiff today, but even if I'm stiff with chopsticky, I'll still be able to write something. You just speak it, So to have that, and then the yoga like goes with it because I get so much health out of that. My yoga practice, like literally, I can feel the tingles and sensations happening. That is healing me and getting blood circulating correctly. I want to have those different things going because like I get sick of my own stuff. Like nobody can listen. I mean, some people do listen to one artist maybe
all the time.
But I get sick of listening to the same stuff. That's why I do like to have poetry some days, music other days, yoga other days. Like tomorrow I'll be teaching yoga, and then you learn from those different experiences too.
How they can intertwine to each other.
Totally,
as well.
like creating space to teach yoga. You're the host for an hour. You're guiding people through this experience. It totally has like. And I did open mic, spoken word, and I was just like, okay, I got on stage like I'm about to create the space right now. I'm about to do it, like set the tone.
To curate this
I'm about to
experience
get into your head. So, and that's what yoga is too. So, your experience is what you bring to the table. And you really see that in yoga communities, how that ripples out. That ripple effect is real. When I was road tripping, that road trip I was talking about, going out to Montana, there's this garden of 1,000 Buddhas, I think it's called, something along those lines. And in the center of that garden of 1,000 Buddhas, it says, compassion equals enlightenment. I remember seeing that and being like, nah, that's too easy, that can't be it. Compassion, enlightenment,
it usually is easy.
But, obviously that stuck, and I absolutely understand that now. I believe that compassion is enlightenment. So have the opportunities to like be challenged to be more compassionate here and there. You know, I was already being challenged with like my father.
Yeah.
That being compassionate towards him. That was like my first real challenge, I think, throughout growing up. And then now it's doing that in less than 5 minutes with whoever approaches, you know.
Yeah.
Them coming to me, you know, one guy, were you there that day? You saying his brother or his stepbrother was killed?
Yeah.
You know, and that just like, I was in such a funky mood that day, just having fun, and then boom, just get hit with that. It's like,
just gets thrown on your lap.
oh, and
like,
you just like
here's
get
the
into,
test.
you just dive into those waters, right? So yeah, that's what was kind of happening when I was at the beach getting ready to write that song, and I cried, and then like had some lines for the lyrics, and I was like, okay, those lines are good. Let's try to remember that for Savasana, and then Savasana happens, and you're like meditative, get into that zone, and you try to channel as much as you can. Let it go, let it happen without doing it.
Yeah. So what would you have to say to like someone who is like maybe in a similar situation to you, someone who's a planet orbiting around their sun, which would be their parents, and want to be artistic and want to get out there, but feel like they're trapped underneath the weight of responsibility, the weight of, you know, the idea of what they want to become. You know, what advice would you give?
Yeah, I just say compassion is enlightenment, you know. No such thing as direct path or mistakes because it already is. It already is happening. It already is changeable as it's changing. So like, don't sweat it. You're fine.
The ghost